business news now, and the loss-making social media network Twitter is close to breaking even under current ownership. So says the new boss, Elon Musk, who gave an impromptu interview to the British Broadcasting Corporation on Tuesday. Mr. Musk also claimed that he'd managed to cut down on hate speech and misinformation since taking over the company last year, although he lamented the hours spent trying to turn the company around, even spending many nights sleeping in the office. But with Twitter now in private hands, it may be difficult to verify Mr. Musk's claims. Well, for more on this and the rest of the day's business news, including the latest inflation data out of the US and the sale of a very special pair of trainers, let's cross over to London and speak to Arise business correspondent Laurie Laird. Good to see you, Laurie. Let's start with the irrepressible Mr. Musk. A bit of an unusual interview. What struck you as the most notable points?
Yeah, this really was an unusual interview, Charles. The BBC says that it had been harassing him, really pushing him for an interview for months and months. One of the reporters happened to be hanging around at Twitter headquarters in San Francisco, made another request for an interview yesterday, and Elon Musk said, okay, you know what? Let's do it now. The only condition was that it was filmed on a Twitter platform. So going through the interview, it was very Elon Musk-esque. It was very rambling. It was he was very, very confident. But I think two things really stuck out for me. One is his claim that Twitter is just about breaking even financially. Now, Twitter, as you know, as you and I have discussed so many times, Charles, almost never made money when it was a public company. The owners never really figured out how to monetize this thing, despite its ubiquity, despite the fact that it was Donald Trump's for a long time preferred medium of communication. It has a name, yet it never made money. Musk says it's just about breaking even. That may be true. It may not be. Certainly, he's cut a lot of overheads by cutting 6,500 workers down to about 1,500 workers now. That certainly takes out your cost base. As for how he's going to monetize it, as for how he's going to make money, well, that is not entirely clear at the moment. And I think one thing that I always worry about when it comes to Elon Musk is he telling the truth? Now, when Twitter was a public company, there was some constraint in that the company was regulated by the Securities and Exchange Commission. To a certain extent, that should keep you from lying to shareholders, although Elon Musk has very much pushed the boundaries on that one. But there is no regulatory authority at the moment for this private company. So it's really difficult to put Elon Musk's claim into any kind of perspective. Yes, the cost base has diminished quite a bit. However, how he's going to monetize this thing, that still is entirely unclear.
So, Laurie, after listening to this interview, do you get the sense that Musk is in for the long term? Because, he's been criticized for spreading himself rather thinly.
Absolutely, and there's no question that he is stretched very thinly. Not only is he running Twitter, he is running SpaceX, a rocket company. He is running Tesla, the ubiquitous electric vehicle company. Also running Starlink, a satellite company that has been so critical to the war in Ukraine. Has allowed Ukrainians to gather information and to gather intelligence. So the man is really rather busy. He was asked point blank in this interview, would you sell out at any price? He said, no, I'm here for the long term. If I were offered a price similar to what I paid for Twitter, which was $44 billion US, and a lot of people thought he overpaid for that. He said if he were offered the same price, he would not sell out. So let's see how that goes. I suspect it would be very difficult to find somebody that would offer that kind of money for Twitter. But were there, at some kind of price, would he sell out? Quite possibly. The man really does have a lot going on.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. But let's leave Mr. Musk for a moment and check in with the latest inflation data out of the US. So what's the update there, Laurie?
Absolutely, we've got March inflation data and inflation data. The CPI data used to be really an afterthought when people were looking at economic indicators, particularly in the U.S. But now with inflation being so far above target for so very long, these data have really taken on such importance. Inflation, the headline number, inflation fell to 5.0% in the month of March, down a full percentage point from 6% the previous month. And I'm talking about a year-on-year basis. Big fall, lowest that we've seen in almost 2 years, but still significantly away from the Fed's 2.0% target. Go underneath those headline numbers a little bit, and what's called core inflation, which strips out food and energy, that still looks a little bit scary, at least to my mind. That went up to 5.6% from 5.5%. But the biggest part of that core inflation number is housing, what's called shelter in the U.S. parlance. And it's a massive bet. That's what you pay for either your rent or if you own your place, what it would pay to rent your place out. But basically, how you put shelter over your head, clearly a very important thing that people spend money on. That is rising at a pace that we haven't seen in 4 decades. And unlike food and energy inflation, this is going the wrong way, up by 8.2% on a year-on-year basis. So when people say that inflation is beginning to cool, yes, on a headline basis, it is. But I would have grave concerns about how inflation, which started out in the food and energy area, is starting to spread to the wider economy.
Okay, Laurie, we're almost out of time here. Someone has paid more than $2 million for a pair of used shoes.
Absolutely. Would you do it, Charles? These are shoes called the Last Dance shoes, owned by none other than Michael Jordan. He wore them in the final round, the last championship he won with the Chicago Bulls. Michael Johnson, of course, one of the most legendary basketball players of all time. As much as this 2.2 million sounds, they were auctioned at Sotheby's last night. It's actually at the low end of expectations. Sotheby's had been hoping to get as much as $4 billion for this pair of trainers. As for the the name of the lucky recipient, that has not been revealed.
Extraordinary. Laurie, thanks very much indeed. Laurie Laird, Arise business correspondent, talking to me there from London.